spectacular performance by Conor McGregor as he becomes the undisputed 145-pound champion, taking out Jose Aldo. Really a sensational night of combat. Conor McGregor doing what he said he was going to do by taking out one of the pound-for-pound greats in the Brazilian, a guy that hadn't been defeated in so long. I think a lot of people are interested to know what would happen in the rematch if Jose Aldo can get a handle on the mental warfare that was doled out by Conor McGregor. But we've got to talk about some of the other fights on the card. The co-main event, Luke Rockhold becoming the undisputed middleweight champion after dispatching Chris Weidman. One thing we have to talk about, Chris Weidman has never tasted defeat inside of the cage. Luke Rockhold, 2 losses as a mixed martial arts professional. It is scary, the thought of Chris Weidman when he returns to the cage after suffering his first setback.
Yeah, you know, that one was really tough to watch. This was one of the craziest night of fights ever that you've ever seen. Chris came out really solid in the early rounds, but you're facing an athlete, a genetic thoroughbred that is so powerful, so talented, so explosive. He has genetic gifts as well as incredible skills. You make one mistake and you go down, and he made that one mistake. He was drawn into that spin kick, that turning hook kick, and when Rockhold got a hold of him, it was just elbow city until it was the end. And we gotta remember to talk about how great Luke Rockhold is, because part of the conversation is going to be the incredible heart of Chris Weidman. And much like Robbie versus Rory, which we've been talking about all last week, this one was going to be one where 2 men could not be broken mentally. They could not be made to give up. And when that's the case, you have to break them physically, and that's what Luke Rockhold did to Chris Weidman.
It's been a goal for Luke Rockhold to become the UFC middleweight champion, and it only makes sense when you walk into the American Kickboxing Academy. Cain Velasquez was the heavyweight champion, Daniel Cormier is the light heavyweight champion, and Luke Rockhold doing all the same work, working with those guys, getting an understanding what champions need to do to get the title, and we saw it. He capitalized on a mistake made by Chris Weidman, but did he mentally break Chris Weidman when he managed to grapple him and get him down to the ground?
He did not. He really didn't. And, you know, there's going to be some discussion. And people are like, oh, it should have been stopped at the end of round 3. And there's a bunch of information that's missing when you think that. You look and you go, oh, my God, he's getting beat up. Stop it. There are very specific instructions that Herb Dean would have given to both Chris and Luke. And among those instructions is, even when you're covering up, if you can do anything to show me that you're still in this fight, I will let it go. That can be verbal, and that can be physical. And more than likely, because Herb's the best in the game, Weidman was saying, I'm okay, and then there were even moments where he punched up from the bottom. Those moments were not to hit Luke Rockhold. Those were to tell Herb Dean he was still in the fight. That tells me he's impossible to break. He would not be broken, and Herb really had to save him from his enormous heart.
Did we get to see a #1 contender at 185 pounds in the fight with Jacare Souza and Yoel Romero? It was a split decision victory for the Cuban, but did you see it that way?
I saw it as a draw. I thought at near the end of round 2, Jacare was up 11 strikes to 3, and then Romero landed 2. I mean, he doubled him in strikes. And, you know, it's hard to judge. It really is. And, you know, they don't have access to numbers and stuff. But I saw the last 2 for Jacare, and the first one for Romero, 10-8. That's a draw. And if it was a draw, we'd see that fight again, and that would be cool. Romero slowed down. There's no way this version of Romero, can do 25 minutes with Luke Rockhold. But I think that's the fight we're going to see. So he'll look to be high impact in the first 10 minutes.
What's interesting and very exciting is the top 4 at 185 pounds. Any of these combinations, Chris Weidman versus Jacare, Chris Weidman versus Yoel Romero, and of course a rematch with Jacare and the champion Luke Rockhold. There's so many possibilities right now at 185 pounds, but we have to switch focus to the welterweight division. The 38-year-old jiu-jitsu master Demian Maia taking on Gunnar Nelson, the teammate of Conor McGregor. We know he has a striking background, and many people talk about his high level of jiu-jitsu, but unfortunately tonight, Demian Maia's jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts jiu-jitsu was just the better game.
Yeah, I thought our friend Joe Rogan nailed it in the commentary. You know, Goldie said something along the lines of, these are 2 brilliant jiu-jitsu guys, and he said there's one brilliant jiu-jitsu guy and an absolute master, and that is what it looked like. I did not expect that one. You know, when you look at, there were so many variables. Gunnar Nelson is adamant that the way to do it is not cut weight. Well, look at the size, and look at the pressure and the power of Demian Maia. even if everything was equal, that would be the difference. And everything was not equal. Damian Maia owned him. Damian Maia rode him. And so you add that extra choice of being the smaller fighter and not cutting weight, and that just sort of compounds it. Damian Maia is a true master, and I think he's won, 7 of his last 8 or something. I mean, he's still, at that age, still a scary fighter.
Is there room for the specialist in mixed martial arts? Damian Maia, very experienced, and he has serious fight IQ. Do you think we'll see more fighters that have a specific background achieve success?
We were at the Ultimate Fighter finale the other night, and Ryan Hall owned Lobov by getting to his back and hanging out there. It's Lobov's job to find a way out of it. And in this one, Damian Maia is the specialist. He's good at everything, but he's mind-blowing. He's brilliant. There are black belts, and then there are black belts, and he's a black belt, And he was facing a guy who's well-rounded and a black belt. Solid killer on the ground himself. It's a wonderful fight. That's as great of a specialist-style fight you're ever going to see.
Max Holloway gets the job done over Jeremy Stephens, and of course, Max Holloway has already faced off with the new 145-pound champion. I'm sure it's a battle he would love to have again. He said, let's do it in Hawaii when he got that victory in Saskatoon. What do you make of Max Holloway in this point of his career?
It's an interesting one. It's just incredibly talented guy. He's been overachieving, and now you just have to say he's achieving. He's brilliant, and he works with distance. It's not just how he uses his range, it's how he positions his feet while using his range. Makes you chase, steps off on angles. And when I spoke to him this week, he talked about the thousands of repetitions it takes to train that into his brain in such a way that he can go out and be free. I'd like to see that fight again. I really would.
It seems like the game is changing, and evidence was tonight here at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas.